Well, good afternoon and welcome to Word for the Day. I'm Jonathan Jennings and I'm on the staff team at St Margaret's Church in Rainham. And today is quite an odd day. It's 29th of December. And someone described these days between Christmas and New Year as like the slack water of the year, when the tide is on the turn but it hasn't actually fully turned yet. Christmas is done with, or at least mostly done with. In the church we've got a few more days and a few more feasts and remembrances to mark and observe. But today was a day of kind of almost starting to be back to normal. And businesses were open, which is why I found myself at quite an early hour at the garage this morning trying to replace the key to my car. Now, in the old days, this was fairly simple. You'd have popped into Woolworths, taken your car key, handed it over at the counter, wait while they picked up a blank, watched as they cut it, and then taken the car key away, having paid maybe a £5 for it. Now it's very, very different. I had to go a couple of weeks ago with all the documents and the car and my driving licence so they could check who I was and why I wanted the key. And then they could order from the manufacturers a key specific to my car. And then this morning I took it in to have the key fitted. And the key has to be matched exactly to the car and it has to be done by a mechanic, which is a bit of a palaver. And like an idiot, I didn't think it would take very long, so I sat there and patted my pockets and I thought, well, I'll just check the email, and realised that I hadn't brought my phone. I hadn't brought my phone, that was it. And suddenly I sat there and I realised that I was totally unconnected. There was no television screen I could see. There was no means of letting anyone know anything short of asking the receptionist at the garage to make a call for me. I was stuck. No distractions, no screen, no way of contacting people. And I thought, wow, what an idiotic thing to do. And I had to sit for nearly an hour while everything was done to the car and just watch and wait and think. And at first it was quite irritating. It really was. I think, oh, I must check on so-and-so. Oh, I need to make this phone call. And all the things I couldn't do because I had to sit and wait had to go undone. And towards the end of the time, I began to realise that actually most of my thought processes now involve a screen of one kind or another, or as you can see now, a lens. And I don't spend a lot of time not doing things with the screen, even in my spare time. And it makes you wonder, just how much has the technology changed fundamentally what we do and how we spend our time? We can be endlessly diverted by the internet. We can be endlessly drawn into work long after working hours by just checking the odd email. And to start with, we'll tell ourselves that it just eases up our tension if we can check that there's nothing that needs our attention. But after a while, we find that we may own phones, but we don't possess them. In some senses, the requirement just to keep on checking the screen kind of possesses us and takes hold. And so for an hour this morning, I didn't have that. And as I began to relax and as I began to think more deeply, I realised just how much time you miss when you're diverted and entertained by everything that's on the internet, whether that's singing cats or screaming goats or whatever it is. There's another use you can put your time to, which is not looking at the screen, not looking endlessly at the internet. And I suppose that's kind of an invitation from me to you to say, when this is finished, perhaps you might go off and do something else instead. Perhaps you might go off and spend a bit of quiet time. Perhaps you might go and talk to a real person in person, if you can. Perhaps you might ring a friend. Perhaps you might go and sit and enjoy the view and just take a few moments out of a very, very busy day to wonder whether it's busier than it needs to be. That's Word for the Day today. I'm Jonathan Jennings. Tonight there's no Tuesday Night Live. We're having a week off, and there's no 10:30 service tomorrow morning. There's no 9:30 service tomorrow morning of Holy Communion. So our next streamed act of worship, other than morning prayer and night prayer, will be the 10:30 communion service live from St Margaret's Church this coming Sunday. Thank you very much for joining us.